Welcome to Casual Politics, welcome to Casual Politics, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you very much for accepting my request, and I'm very grateful to you. First, please allow me to congratulate you for your re-election, but this time with an increased majority.
No, with an increased vote and an increased percentage of the vote. So I was very pleased. My constituents are the jury that I trust and respect, and I'm very pleased that they expressed their views in the way that they did.
Congratulations, and also congratulations for that your government got elected in Parliament after 23 years. How exciting and surprising was for you to see your party back in government?
Well, I was obviously delighted, and it was at the upper end of our expectations. So we were all obviously very relieved and pleased. But the British public doesn't often get it wrong, and they clearly have delivered an instruction to the government to sort out the deficit, and that's what we must now do.
And what do you think that the Conservative Party has learned from those 13 years with 23 years without an outright majority?
Well, we lost our majority in '97, of course, and so we've been out of government as the Conservative government for 18 years, and I think that during that time we have found a voice that echoes across the electorate, and that's very important, and that there are certain key things that the Conservatives stand for now, which I think we must deliver to the public as they have told us to do in the election result.
But it seems already that your party is split and over Europe and over Human Rights Act. Is it true?
No, I think that there is a nervousness amongst many of us about withdrawing from the European Convention, and I think that would be a mistake. And there's very considerable agreement on Europe that we need to follow the roadmap set out, which is a renegotiation on the key and fundamental points, and then a in-out referendum where everyone will have their say. It won't just be politicians in smoke-filled rooms. It will be everyone who is able to vote, and I think that's a very good thing.
Just about Human Rights Act, you said that if David Cameron repeals the Human Rights Act, you will quit government. So
I haven't said that at all.
You didn't. They said that the senior Tory.
No, that was someone else who said that. It wasn't me.
You never said it.
No, it was a minister.
Oh, it was a minister. They said Liam Fox and Andrew Mitchell as well.
No.
Okay. Oh, sorry. So but if so some why some Tory ministers now they decided, because it was in your manifesto.
Well, it wasn't in my manifesto. I made it clear in my election address to my constituents.
But your party
on issues of I made clear to my constituents on issues of liberty that I would be on the libertarian wing of the Tory party. So I certainly would never have agreed to withdrawing from the convention. I mean, there's always things in your party's manifesto that you don't agree with. It's important to tell your constituents what those are, and then vote as you believe is right for your constituents.
But now, today, Theresa May and Mike Gove, they're pressing the Prime Minister to repeal the Human Rights Act. In what way do you think that they're wrong to?
Well, I don't think they're wrong to necessarily to repeal the Human Rights Act, so long as we replace it with something better. But that is different from the Convention on Human Rights, and I think it would be a big mistake for Britain to withdraw from that convention. It's different, you'll appreciate, from the British Human Rights Act.
But as long as we signed up to the European Convention, but we got British judges and British courts, is that wrong, really?
Yes, I mean, I believe that the Convention is an added layer of protection from my constituents, that the national system of justice getting it wrong, and therefore I am very keen that should be there and available to my constituents in a number of very extreme circumstances.
And now on the referendum, given the limited demands that Prime Minister could ask from the European countries, do you still think that it's relevant to put a referendum to the people?
Yes, I do, because I think the Prime Minister will be successful in those negotiations. He's pretty good at this sort of thing, and he encapsulates the British view. And I think when he comes back, we'll all of us be able to take a view on what he has achieved, and then be able to say whether we support Britain staying in Europe or are against it.
But already, Polish Prime Minister and the French President, they already said that they would not agree with, and they were not prepared for a treaty change.
Well, there's a long way to travel on all of this. We'll
And
have to see what transpires.
If you may remember, in 1975, Harry Wilson came back from Brussels and he said that I came back with the terms, and just after the referendum, British people, they just realised that he had just come back with very little. So do you think is this in danger of happening again?
No, I think not. I think this is a much more substantive renegotiation. That everyone knew that Harold Wilson was merely fulfilling an electoral promise, and it was cosmetic. But I think that this time, with all the years we've been in the European Union under our belt, and what has always been an edgy relationship, this is a really good chance now to make some pretty fundamental changes so that Britain has an easier relationship with the EU.
And do you think that David Cameron, as you may remember, that Harold Wilson allowed his government to split? And do you think that David Cameron would do the same?
Yes, I think it's very important that ministers should not be held to any form of collective responsibility when the referendum comes, that they should be able to follow their convictions and campaign as they see fit.
And Ken Clarke has already said that he will campaign with Peter Mandelson, the architect of New Labour, for Britain to stay in. And have you chosen your a Labour MP or grandee that you would like to campaign with him to stay?
Well, no, I haven't decided yet whether we should stay in or not. That will depend upon the results of the renegotiation. When I see what the Prime Minister delivers, I will then be able to decide how to vote.
And a lot of people that I speak to, they voted that Britain actually joins a common market in 1975, but now they said that they were actually Britain to come out of the European Union. Why is that? Well, people have become more agnostic over Europe.
Well, I think because it's been such an edgy relationship, but I think also that now we have a situation where it looks as though more than 50% are in favour of staying in, but we'll have to see the result of the negotiation.
And do you think that are there people anti-European or anti-Brussels?
Probably both, but this is an opportunity for Britain to negotiate a new deal with Europe, and for us then to see what that deal contains.
And do you want the Prime Minister to put it actually earlier, the referendum, in 2016 rather than 2017?
I think he should. I mean, the negotiation is likely to succeed as he gets nearer the end date and people know that they're up against a time limit. So, I think that's an inevitable consequence of negotiating within the European Union. But if it can be done earlier, that would be a good thing. But I don't think it's very likely that will be possible.
As you remember that in 1990, John Major's premiership was defeated by backbenchers' rebellion over Maastricht Treaty. Do you think will this happen again with David Cameron?
No, I mean, firstly, John Major was not defeated. He, of course, won on the Maastricht Treaty, thanks to the Whip's office, of which I was a part. But this is not the same. There was yes, but it was won by John Major. It didn't make a lot of difference, it has to be said.
Well,
he lost the election in '97. But I think arguably the Archangel Gabriel would not have won the election had he been Premier in place of John Major. So I think that was good. But this is different because there is a roadmap. There's a negotiation and then there's a referendum. And that will ensure, in my judgment, so long as it's handled with courtesy and care, that the Conservative Party is able to get through this in one piece and not fracture as a result.
And in what ways, in your opinion, this parliament is different than the other parliament, as now you've got an outright majority, and how is it without your Lib Dem colleagues? Do you miss them?
I enjoyed working with the Lib Dems, and I think history will treat Nick Clegg rather better than the electorate has done. And I think they deserve credit for putting the country before their narrow party interests and joining the coalition. But obviously, as a Conservative, I'm very pleased we now have a majority Conservative government.
And now, Yeah. And now Scotland, the Prime Minister went to Scotland a few days last week, and he set out new powers to Scotland, to give to Scotland. What could you just tell us concretely that what will be those powers given to
Well,
Scotland?
I think it's premature to decide what those powers will be, but clearly greater autonomy means greater fiscal autonomy as well. And I think there's a lot of discussion to be had with our Scottish friends to decide what is the best way forward. And I think at the moment both sides need to listen carefully to what the other side is saying and then seize upon the points of agreement and try and drive the agenda forward in that way.
And do you agree that we should give more power to North as well, as Chancellor is doing it with Manchester?
Yes, I'm particularly interested in what we should do in Birmingham, which is of course close to where I represent, because I think that we hope that many of those powers that are being developed in Manchester rather well can also be developed in the Midlands too.
Do you want to see more mayors?
More
To have more mayors actually. in
mayors,
Manchester?
yes.
Mayors.
I'm a believer in executive mayors. I think it's a good thing. I think Boris Johnson has shown that in London, and indeed Ken Livingstone before him. And I think it is a way of returning local autonomy in an effective way where people can be held properly to account.
And my last question, Mr. Mitchell. Now, this Parliament, you've got the natural majority in Parliament. What do you want to see that your government will undertake that it was unable to do it in last Parliament?
We have got to address the deficit and the debt. The debt has risen very substantially in the last Parliament. We've got to find a way of bringing the deficit right down and quickly, because otherwise this will turn into an intergenerational transfer of debt to our children and our grandchildren. And I think that is completely wrong. So that's very important indeed. We also need to develop a national, indeed an international strategy for dealing with ISIL and fundamentalist terrorism. Very important to do that. I don't see much sign of international leadership, but I hope Britain can help develop that.
Mr. Mitchell, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.